The grand throne room of Zarketh Prime fell silent as King Thaldros rose from his crystalline seat, his 4 eyes gleaming with barely concealed contempt. Before him stood his daughter, Princess Lyra El, her hand intertwined with that of a human, a species the Zarkethian Empire had dismissed as primitive upstarts for decades. "This is what you bring before me?" Thaldros's voice echoed through the chamber, his serpentine tail coiling in agitation. "A creature whose ancestors were still hunting with pointed sticks when my people were navigating the stars?" The assembled courtiers chittered in agreement, their multi-jointed appendages clicking against the polished floors. Ambassador Vexlar, the king's chief advisor, stepped forward with a predatory grin. "Your Majesty speaks truth," Vexlar said, his voice dripping with condescension. "Humans are a curious anomaly. They stumbled into space barely 2 centuries ago, cobbling together technology they barely understand. They have no natural armor, no telepathic abilities, no extended lifespans. They are, in essence, soft-bodied children playing at galactic politics." Marcus Chen stood quietly beside Larahel, his expression neutral despite the torrent of insults. He had expected this. The Zarkethian court was infamous for its arrogance, and he had prepared himself for the humiliation. What he hadn't prepared for was the sight of Lyrahel's bioluminescent patterns dimming with shame. Not for him, but for her people's cruelty. King Thaldros descended from his throne, circling the couple like a predator examining wounded prey. "My daughter wishes to bond with this thing. She claims humans possess qualities worthy of our respect." He laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "Tell me, human, what makes your species anything more than a cosmic accident? You have no claws, no venom, no psychic powers. Your bodies fail after a mere 100 rotations. Your planet is a death world that constantly tries to kill you, and yet you are so fragile that a simple temperature change can end you." The courtiers erupted in cruel laughter. Lyrahel's grip on Marcus's hand tightened, her bioluminescence flickering with distress. "Father, please," she began, but Thaldros silenced her with a raised hand. "No, daughter. Let the human speak. Let him defend his worthless species before this court. Let him explain why I should allow the royal bloodline to be contaminated by such inferior genetics." The throne room fell silent once more, all eyes, including the dozens of optical sensors belonging to the court's various species, focused on Marcus Chen. He felt the weight of their judgment, their expectation that he would crumble, that he would prove everything they believed about humanity. Instead, Marcus smiled. "You're right," he said calmly, his voice cutting through the silence like a blade. "We have no claws, no venom, no telepathy. We live such short lives that by your standards we barely exist at all." Confusion rippled through the court. This was not the defensive posturing they had anticipated. Marcus continued, his voice growing stronger. "And you're absolutely right about Earth. It's a nightmare planet. Earthquakes that reshape continents, hurricanes that could level your cities, volcanoes that blot out the sun, bacteria and viruses that evolve faster than we can fight them, predators that evolved specifically to hunt us. And the temperature? You're correct. Too hot and we die. Too cold and we die. Our comfortable range is absurdly narrow." King Thaldros's eyes narrowed. "Then what?" "But here's what you don't understand," Marcus interrupted, and the audacity of cutting off a king sent shockwaves through the assembly. "We survived all of that. We didn't just survive, we thrived. We took a planet that was actively trying to kill us every single day, and we made it our home. We looked at animals with claws and fangs, and we hunted them to extinction. We looked at diseases that should have wiped us out, and we killed them at the microscopic level. We looked at the ground and discovered fire. We looked at the sky and built machines to take us there." He stepped forward, and for the first time King Thaldros took a step back. "You mock us for having no natural weapons, but we built weapons that can crack planets. You mock us for having no armor, but we forged armor from the bones of dead stars. You mock our short lifespans, but in those brief candles of existence, we accomplish more than species that live for millennia. We don't have time to waste on contemplation and committee meetings. We don't have the luxury of taking centuries to make decisions. When we set our minds to something, we achieve it or we die trying, and usually we achieve it anyway." Marcus's eyes locked with Thaldros's central pair. "You want to know what makes humans special? It's not what we have, it's what we don't have that makes us dangerous. We have no venom, so we created chemistry. We have no telepathy, so we invented communication systems that span galaxies. We have no extended lifespans, so we build legacies that outlive empires. We are, as you said, soft and fragile, And that is precisely why we are relentless. The throne room was deathly quiet now. Even the ambient hum of the palace's systems seemed to have faded away. Every species in this galaxy was handed their advantages, Marcus said. Zarkethians were born with armor and regeneration. Felkrans with telepathy. Cronids with extended lifespans. You were all given gifts by evolution and spent your existence coasting on them. But humans? We were given a death world and weak bodies, and we were told to make it work. So we did. We took nothing and built everything. We stared into the abyss of extinction 1,000 times and said, "Not today." Marcus reached into his jacket and pulled out a small, unremarkable device. A human smartphone, ancient by current standards but still functional. This device has more computing power than the ship that first took my species to our moon. We went from not knowing fire to landing on other worlds in less than 10,000 years. Most species take 10 times that long just to develop interstellar communication theory. We don't move at your pace because we can't afford to. Every human knows that our time is limited, so we make every second count. He turned to face the assembled court, his voice rising with passion. You call us primitive? We're the species that met you in the stars less than 2 centuries after learning to fly, and we did it with determination and duct tape. You call us weak? We're the species that refuses to stay down no matter how many times the universe knocks us over. You call us insignificant? We're the species that turned our greatest weakness, our mortality, into our greatest strength. We burn bright and fast, and we leave marks on the universe that your ancient civilizations never could. Marcus turned back to King Thaldros, and in his eyes was not anger, but absolute certainty. So yes, your majesty, I am a fragile, short-lived human with no natural advantages, and I love your daughter with an intensity that my brief existence demands. I will spend every moment of my short life making her happy, achieving goals, and proving that humanity deserves its place among the stars, not because we were given that place, but because we took it. The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity. Then slowly, King Thaldros began to laugh, not the cruel mockery from before, but genuine booming laughter that shook the throne room. By the eternal void, he said, wiping at his eyes, Ambassador Vexillar, remind me never to underestimate a species born of adversity again. He looked at his daughter, then back at Marcus, and for the first time, there was respect in his gaze. Very well, human. You have my blessing, not because I think you're our equal, but because I now understand that you don't need to be. You're something else entirely, something dangerous and beautiful and utterly terrifying. King Thaldros returned to his throne, his expression thoughtful. The Zarkethian Empire has endured for 50,000 years by recognizing strength in all its forms. I see now that humanity's strength is not in what they possess, but in what they refuse to accept, limits, defeat, or insignificance. As Marcus and Lyrahel stood together before the court, their union now blessed, Ambassador Vexillar leaned toward the king and whispered, Your Majesty, should we be concerned about humanity's trajectory? Thaldros watched the human and his daughter, saw the fierce determination in Marcus's eyes and the proud glow of Lyrahel's bioluminescence, and smiled. Concerned? No, old friend, but we should be prepared. That species will either be our greatest ally or our greatest challenge. Either way, the galaxy will never be the same again. And as word of the human speech spread through the Zarkethian court and beyond, other species began to reassess their views on humanity. The species that took every disadvantage and forged it into triumph. The species that refused to be anything less than extraordinary despite being, at their core, impossibly defiantly, magnificently human.